You either had your tights on or your footy shorts on, one or the other.
Back in Clubland, there was Dave Last had there was a period where it probably sounds really not admirable today, but at the time we admired him for going out with twins.
Oh.
And we thought it was like Jack Thompson, his Jack Thompson period.
I don't remember that.
No. Do you remember that?
I remember the two girls. First time I met him was...
They looked like straight out of a Robert Palmer video.
Oh, yeah, those girls, yeah. But I met these other... I met him and his girlfriend's... Went there with Conway and Bruce and met him at his girlfriend's apartment, in these deco apartments on Queen's Road. And she came and she looked like Dorothy Lamour or, Betty Crawford. Yeah. And this long silk dressing gown, It was like something out of...
The Postman Always Rings Twice.
Yeah. It was like, Dave is John Garfield or something, But, yeah, it was amazing.
And there were two of them.
There was her and her, I won't mention her name, but her and her sister.
Yeah.
And they had their hair done
They both
up
look like her. Isn't that amazing? Sorry.
Yeah. But
And he probably wasn't dating both of them, but that was just how we liked to see Dave as a heroic champion. All the boys. Yes.
Yeah.
But Melbourne was quite, this is in the 80s, I think, 90s, was quite an amazing kind of playground in many ways.
You could get the dole and live quite comfortably. You didn't really, there was no one really checking in on you. Just hand your form in once a fortnight.
St Kilda was full of dilapidated mansions that were kind of divided into bed sits or single rooms with tons of people living in them, but with staircases in some straight out of Gone with the Wind, and the Seaview Ballroom itself, a hotel with elderly people living upstairs and a lift servicing them to different kind of levels of entertainment.
And the Prince, and they all kind of catered for alternative communities and
as well as gangsters.
And gangsters, yeah. I worked at the Prince of Wales for a while. I used to, do the hookers and deviates ball. That was always an interesting night. It was just full of underworld characters and
Prince of Wales is a large hotel on the corner of
Ackland
Street and Fitzroy Street, and until the early 80s, all the streets were wide open, like in South Melbourne. You could drive a tank down both sides. They built a lot of traffic kind of things to manage people driving down there looking for sex workers. But the Prince of Wales was an amazing home for trans people, LGBTQI community before that existed. And it had rock music there, but that was just clinging onto the side. The main thing in the dressing room was full of the kind of
boas.
And they had portraits of different performers on the walls.
All the way up the stairs with their little bios.
Yeah, Candy or whatever, Candy someone.
Yes. But you mentioned a fella who was one of the guys who we referred to as Reg Ansett. Was it? No, the other Ansett. We called him another Bob Ansett. He passed away recently.
Yeah. What's his name? Don. I can't remember his
They were kind of older kind of guys sitting around like in cardigans and skivvies kind of.
And the other one looked like Jan, his name was, and he looked like John Kerr, the Governor General.
Yeah.
And
silver-haired Buffon.
Right.
And I used to work the bar upstairs, the piano bar, and you'd have on a Wednesday night or during the week, you'd have some great bands playing. You guys played
We used to play
during the
there
week.
every Tuesday or something. Yeah.
Kim Salmon played there, and
The Surrealists, Dirty Three.
Dirty Three.
Charlie Marshall's Body Electric, probably.
Yeah.
Scare 'em? Oh.
Maybe that was a bit earlier.
Oh,
Hell to Pay with Ian Ryland and Tony Biggs.
And the piano bar was built like it was like pre-rock and roll kind of nightclub ambience with curved booths, leather booths that you could sit in with your friends and a table in the corner. It wasn't at all to get people jammed in, standing up. It was a cool place for lounging around in.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's
Views over
good.
the sea. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I lived next door, downstairs. I think Jenny Reese opened a bar out the back, and they used to have like the short order cook, and they still had a mixed grill with lamb's fry on the menu, and he had really bad dermatitis, and he'd scratching his arms, and he's got the saucepan. Now he ran off. They used to get their milk from the milk bar over the road.
Oh, yeah.
And he ran off with the milk bar money. He clocked up about $600 in, and they kept asking Don where the money was. And he said he'd given the money to the cook or whatever to pay him, but he never came back. But
was the downstairs always a gay bar? Or
pretty much when I was there, it was.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. I sort of never really knew that until a lot later on. It was
And you used to get,
it was always just packed full of people, and you didn't think about it.
you used to get, lots of overseas acts in the main band room.
Oh, yeah.
Upstairs.
Yeah, upstairs.
When you were talking about the man with the dermatitis, it reminded me of...
You used to wear a woolen beanie too.
It reminded me of those... Because I wanted to talk to you about your sensibility, which has been one of our friends for years in the Melbourne scene, and your sensibility, the way you have your kind of respect for art and ease in talking about art, but not being arty at the same time. There was a great when you were talking about acting and that before, it reminded me of that great 70s period of Australian films like Sunday Too Far Away, which had these kind of physical actors moments in it, like when they were suddenly having their competition to wash their clothes in Sunday Too Far Away, and you see the actor from behind, he's rubbing his clothes so much their towels fall off and they're in the
Yeah. And great actors, like Slim de Groot and Bill Hunter and Ray Barrett. Ray Barrett's in Don's Party, when he gets kicked in the nuts. In Don's Party. And like going back to Rusden days, Bruce Kane and I used to go down into the library and get Stalk out, which was a great film about inner city Melbourne and the Carlton scene. That had Bruce Spence and Graham Blundell in it, and a really young Jackie Weaver, and we used to go in there and watch Stalk, which is a fantastic movie, full of great one-liners, and the art gallery scene where he's showing Westy a good joke, and he sticks a smoked oyster up his nose and walks up to this Turak toff and goes, "Excuse me, lady, would you have a handkerchief?" "Don't worry."
Did you feel
classic scene?
Did you feel close to that, or did you feel you had a future in that kind of world where you could express yourself like that?
I would have loved to have, but I just didn't, have a thick enough skin to be an actor, although I was sort of encouraged.
I
didn't feel like I had that kind of photographic kind of look that you need.
Yeah.
I thought I had a head for theatre, you know.
I felt close to that because through Claire's brother, we used to go and see a few plays around by Barry Dickens, who was very much from that world.
Yeah.
And being around Prahran, when we were living in Prahran, I bought a book by Phil Motherwell, who's an actor, director from that period, and he wrote this book called Mr. Bastard and Sideshow, two novels. And they were set around the Greville Street, Carlton scene of just people shooting up loads of speed and heroin and lots of sex and quoting Rambo to each other. It was quite thrilling to see that stuff coming out of streets and voices you were.
It was always great watching old episodes of Bluey, you know, and they're having car chase scenes around South Melbourne and down Fitzroy Street and around the Lakeside Oval, and you'd be looking at it going, oh, fuck, you know, I used to live there. I used to walk up that street, you know. You still recognise it, even though it's like 50 years old, you know. And
yeah, we have a young friend who does an annual review of Australian TV, and he did one focusing on Australian cop shows and cops being involved in how they were portrayed, but we were talking with him, and we just started talking about how great the locations of those Australian cop shows were.
Yeah.
Really good.
So good.
What about later on, this is moving forward in time, you got involved in the TV show Recovery, which is a 90s show the ABC did, which went for 3 hours every Saturday morning, and they in recent years they're forever pimping the legacy of Countdown, but nothing from Recovery, which was full of great live performances, and a lot of it was down to Bruce Kane, and Tony Marnie was involved in it, Paul Clark, and yourself involved in the just a group of people who cooked up something and contributed bits to it.
Yeah, I got back from overseas, been touring with the band, and
that's with the Dirty Three.
Yeah, just blowing some harmonica.
Dirty Three plus one.
Yeah. That was good fun. I met Nancy Sinatra in LA. That's the highlight for me. But yeah, got back, and Bruce Kane, you know, got me a gig. Just starting off doing Vox Pops, and I said, I haven't never made telly before. He goes, don't worry, just have a go at it. And just tell a crew, because the ABC crews had always they were like 30-year lifers, you know, that were suspicious of anyone new coming in. It was almost like closed shop in a lot of ways. So I don't like bullshitting, but you just kind of go, I have done a little bit of stuff. And anyway, it just kind of led to, from Recovery, it was great. It was a really loose show. You know, sometimes you didn't know whether it was going to run an hour over.
It had such great things with the sets.
The sets were fantastic.
For each act. It was great.
Yeah, there was real
fantastic, really well shot too, and
incredible. The onus was kind of on the music, the musicians, and
the live sound by Tony Clark when the first series was in Melbourne. Tony Cohen, sorry, Tony Cohen,
Sometimes,
Yeah, they were always the powers that be up in Sydney were always really suspicious of the show, so it kind of never really reflected in the ratings, but you still talk to people today and you tell them that you worked on that show, and they go, oh, I love that show, you know. So yeah, it was really good. They had sort of really stupid segments Bruce used to devise, like he got his dog involved. He'd always kind of get people involved in stupid ways, really encouraged new talent, and got his dog involved in for a segment called Can You Kill a Brown Dog, which was basically people cooking up some strange meal and feeding it to
Not Roger.
yeah, to Roger
Oh,
the
my
dog.
God. Poor Roger.
Oh, sorry. Oh, did I just move that?
And they did a second series, or was it in Sydney? Oh, no, they did it in Melbourne, and
In Elstonwick.
it was all set inside a house.
Yeah.
Which I always thought, because Tony Marnie and I had tried to get a show on TV together called the Dave Graney Show, because I just thought that would be a fun thing to do, and the idea was to have a house that a successful musician player lived in, and he was not a wild and crazy guy. He was extremely depressed, and he's wandering his mansion. He'd keep opening up doors, and there would be someone in there, and he'd talk to them, but he would be down, and that was me, and there would be, say, a band playing, but they would always mime, so it would sound brilliant, and they could just pose and jump around. And we filmed a few bits for it, me interviewing Rose Hancock. Were you there when that happened? And then we interviewed Henry Rollins, and anyway, it didn't get off the ground, but they used. And I was going to have an offsider who was ripping me off all the time, and that was going to be Dave Ray, Frank Bennett. And anyway, a lot of that was used in that series of Recovery. I thought, because it was in a house and it had the enforcer. It was that kind of character. But I'm not complaining or whinging. I don't even know whether it was, but it was still a really enjoyable show to do.
How did the music work in the house? I can't remember. Did they have bands playing in the house? Or?
Yeah, they do sometimes have an obscure sort of house band.
But in a corner of the house, or not back in the studio.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because it was so elaborate. Because
you're going into a different room. And
you wouldn't have been able to do that in the house, right?
Lee Winnell, who kind of went on to write with James Wan the Saw movies, he used to do the film Crypts in a bathtub, I think. The ironic thing is one of the editors, he lived next door, and you said at the show, lived next door to the house where they'd record on a Saturday, and he'd get out on the piss on a Friday night and ring up and complain at the show.
They couldn't.
That was hilarious.
They couldn't use
typical ABC.
They couldn't use the studio to do it in Elston because it had been committed to that long-running series about
sea change.
Sea change, yeah.
Oh,
so they had to. It was booked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. They just kind of everything. They couldn't afford things, the ABC had slugged them for their own productions.
Couldn't afford to look through their own archive to use it in. They still can't.
I mean, you see clips popping up on Rage every now and then, and the sets just speak for themselves.
Yeah, incredible.
It was amazing going into that ABC Studios in Gordon Street, which has been torn down as of last year or the year before. And it was like a kind of a museum anyway, because where you get your makeup and clothes together was a wall full of wigs for men, and there'd be a newsreader in there sitting next to you. It was such a strange environment.
You'd walk into the ABC and you had the security box at the start with a boom gate, and the commissar would be there, and you tell them what you're there for. It was like that TV show, The Box, in the 1970s,
It was.
And they would have actual screaming kids outside at the end of it for Dylan when he left, not for anybody else. More than anything, it was for Dylan because he was so young and one of them. Yeah,
and they shot, there's old clips that come up every now and you recognise that it's shot at Rip and Lee, JPY, when all the girls are on the gate.
Yesterday's hero.
Yesterday's hero. And that. Yeah, so that was good, and then went from there into arts and shot docos on various Australian artists and that.
You did, say, 30-minute art documentaries for Sir Robert Helpman, and you did one on the photographer Bill Henson and
Howard Arkley.
Howard Arkley, Rick and Moore, Patricia Piccinini, some less well-known artists.
And there was like music needed for these things, because documentaries always need music to knit together, a narrative part with images, and Claire and I did music for a few of them. It was great work to do, really interesting. And but then the ABC's commitment to the arts just kind of went down and down, and commissioning music was one of the first to go. They just went to stock music.
And when I first started there, you could basically use any recorded music that you wanted. So you used to use a lot of young bands and use them as soundtrack material, and then all of a sudden it was like they couldn't come to an agreement with ANCOS or APRA, and so they completely cut it, and you just had to use production music, and it really, really, really stifled you. And plus, that kind of cross-pollination wasn't there anymore, It's like a real shame that once again, the boffins upstairs would just trying to save money,
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, that sort of happening meant that they probably realised it's a lot cheaper to not hire people, or not use,
or just
established artists or whatever, their music. Yeah.
But then they'd also, if you did do any soundtrack material, basically wanted, lifetime rights to it, so you didn't own any of your own music that you composed, and just kind of ridiculous. And if you want to use any ABC archive, it costs you an arm and a leg, which really stifled documentary making.
We had a bit of that when we did Rage, we programmed Rage, and just to see how difficult it was to actually find the stuff that was in the massive printout we were given. Like it took ages, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or it just didn't even. Sometimes they couldn't find it.
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to think a bit laterally to kind of get to what you want to see.
But it was a very high hourly cost to
yeah,
someone
and then
find
the
that
footage
stuff.
on top of it. You could, so much $300 for 20 seconds, and then the scale goes up. Anyway, we're complaining a lot now.
That's
it's not meant to be like that, Dave.
No, I just wanted to talk to you today, Tony, because Claire and I have been musicians for all our lives, and it's like where you come from or what you think is the real world when you're a musician. You have to hold it. And we started out talking about being outsiders and coming into Melbourne, and in a way, being outsiders is an identity, gives you a view of things. But we're often engaging with people in the music scene or people who think they're in a music industry, and I just really shrink away from them because I think, I don't know what you're talking about or who you think you're talking to, or and we've always had friends like yourself and Tony Marnie and others that have been like sustaining kind of ideas of what's important and what isn't. So I just wanted to
I think the first time I saw you guys was at the Ballroom. You might have just got back from overseas.
In the Moodists,
yeah. But I've seen you go through a lot of changes, Dave, in your stage present.
That's right, yeah.
Department S period was quite an interesting one.
That was the soft and sexy period. Yeah.
The ARIA Award
period. Yeah. That was weird.
I've seen your best behaviour and your worst behaviour.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
I could cite a few things, but
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that.
Those guys from the Buzzcocks.
Oh, I remember that. That was That was
getting up their
shocking.
noses.
Wow.
Well, I admired Peter Shelley when I was a kid, and he was in a state that was,
He's on the nod.
Yeah. He's no longer with us, Tony. We should respect his passing. But,
I don't even think I can remember that.
yeah. Anyway, I was super drunk anyway, so I was being obnoxious.
And then but you were holding court. We went to some hotel at the end.
It was horrible.
That was sublime. That was. I forget what you were saying.
I was a champion boozer, but
you were just ragging those Sydney people, no end, just fucking getting stuck into them.
See, I shouldn't have been doing that.
I thought it was brilliant. You know what they say about Sydney people?
What?
Big on the sizzle, short on the sausage.
Wow, Tony, I like Sydney people. I don't go along with that.
Who says that?
Yeah.
I do.
Well, I like the other thing. Sydney used to be called the gold tooth of the Pacific. I think that's a very admirable, great description of a place that you'd want to go to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to King's Cross recently, but it's horrible.
I haven't been there for a long
It's
time.
horrible. It's still beautiful looking, but there's no sex, no drugs, no rock and roll.
No kebabs.
I remember going up there with Honeymooning Grin and we were playing at the Cardoma Club.
Wow, the Dark Coma, yeah.
The Dark Coma. And we were staying in Glebe, which was over the... Glebe? No, Gore... it was over the bridge or something in the Cardoma. Was in...
Darlinghurst.
Yeah, and... was supporting Jason and the Scorchers.
Wow.
Whoa.
What a match.
Get out.
And after we played...
John Denny.
Just ran amok,
Jason
yeah.
Higginbotham.
Just ran amok and got banned from ever playing there again. And
Wow.
John Denny
Jeez.
managed... What was that?
Awesome.
Was it Gore Hill? It was just up
Gore
over
Hill's
the,
the ABC.
but just over the other side of the bridge.
Yeah.
And John Denny managed to walk all the way home.
Wow. That's quite
like
a walk.
literally climbing over people's back fences to get
That's quite a
bridge.
journey. Wow.
Shit. That's a bit like Burt Lancaster
is,
in
yeah.
the swimming pool.
No, we
Yeah.
used to go around to this place called Graceland, which was you had people like Stu Spasm from Lubricated Goat and
Peter Reid.
Peter Reid lived somewhere else.
What suburb was that in?
And Tex Perkins lived in Burton Street, I think.
Was that up in
Where
Paddington or something?
Belinda Kate used to
Oh, yeah.
remember her.
Yeah.
She played with the Craven Fox?
Craven Fox, yeah.
James
drums.
Scanlon.
We ran into James. He's always great to run into. He lives in Katoomba.
It was always great going up there.
Loved
Although
it.
the riders were shit and the publicans were always cunts.
Yeah. But King's Cross was
that
dazzling.
was happening. You go to No Names and have your breakfast.
Yeah.
And,
So you've changed your tune about Sydney.
Yeah.
well, you know, once in a while, going up there was great. I don't know why I mentioned that. But
Yeah, that was good. Now we ended our thing yesterday in our classic interview with what's a part of Melbourne that you would ideally, in an ideal world of worlds, you would love to live in.
Well, I said East Melbourne, you know, just with a little houndstooth jacket and a cravat.
Just up the end of
Or historic buildings.
To get on your walking
museum.
frame and
up the end of
Travel
Bridge
into the
Road,
city.
between Bridge Road and the city. It's a lovely, quiet oasis there.
near the Fitzroy Gardens and, you know, go
Gigantic hospital.
and visit Captain Cook's cottage.
Yeah, wow.
Go to the,
The Tudor
NCG.
Gardens.
Go a nice spot of billiards at Lindrum's.
Yeah.
And Claire, where was your
I
place?
think North Melbourne, because it looks like a country town still.
North Melbourne of 2026. Remember when we went to watch the grand final in North Melbourne in a pub in 1996?
No, we went there for a bit of action.
And it was free beer
My
until the
God.
first goal.
Oh,
No. everyone was asleep
Wow.
on their stools.
Yeah.
They got all those old terrace verandas, and they that come down onto the street and that.
It's
the
amazing.
awnings and that. Yeah.
Incredibly wide footpaths.
There's all those great Mark Strizzic photos of Melbourne in the 70s, 60s. They featured in that book, Graham Kennedy's Melbourne. Have you ever seen that book? And
I've got that at
I
home.
met him once, did a story on him. He was a Hungarian. And,
Not Graham Kennedy.
No, not great. Well, Mum was on Iron too. That was pretty good. She was on the wheel.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Was that with
cried. I
Bert
thought
as
she was going
well?
to sing a song. I was only like about 4 or 5. Yeah. Anyway,
was Bert
sorry.
doing it as well? Bert and Graham?
It was in the 60s, like 1964, 65, something. Great.
So it was North Melbourne, Claire.
Yeah, it was
Sorry.
Melbourne. What about you, Dave?
Well, I chose North Carlton, which is a bit like East Melbourne, almost
cemetery.
like an oasis, a village.
Like Rathdown Street.
Yeah, very quiet. And I would, of course, be no more development in the area would be allowed if I was there. But then I remember, Claire, through your connections, we got to visit the Governor of Victoria at Government House last year. And I could handle living there.
Oh, yeah. Although I was a bit disappointed with the carpet. It was a bit like that. It was lumpy.
They're a bit Buckingham Palace, like old and...
They have to keep moving big tables around.
Yeah, all those old buggers scuffling along.
Great security.
It's going to be a nasty injury to some old monarch any day.
A great pool room.
Sirrow and
The pool
Delicate.
room was awesome with the gifts in the glass cases.
And you took a few liberties, Dave.
I went into the pool room and started playing.
Bastard. No respect.
And then Nick Cave started playing nearby one of his enormous gigs, and I rang up the police to complain. Hello, it's Government House here. Anyway, thank you both for doing this
all
again.
right.
Sorry, Dave.
I hope it was as good as your first attempt, Dave.
Well, we were describing yesterday, this is like a recording for, perhaps no purpose. And we compared it to the time Claire spoke to a man from this the Australian was it Screen Sound Archive, and we did an interview. It went for 4 hours.
Yeah.
That was just you and.
I thought I was never going to get out of there. It was horrible. Sorry, but I mean, I'm glad it happened now, and I've got a copy of it, but I've never listened to it.
But at some point, you realise this isn't for anything.
No,
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going
it's kind
to.
of weird.
Yeah.
What is that for? Yeah. Although yesterday was a bit more like the time we went on and did our COVID,
Oh, yeah.
our COVID gig online.
Yeah.
And
We did
in
such
the
a
end,
great
it was
performance.
the best gig.
The best.
In the end, we realised it hadn't gone out
Hadn't
through
gone
the
out.
internet.
Oh,
There were all these comments
It was
on
fucked.
online of when are they going to start? And it was
Oh,
like
no.
from 40 minutes
We did a
ago.
whole show thinking people were watching us.
We were doing our bit for the world, entertaining the
It's
troops.
just for us.
were you the one that was supposed to press record?
I think it was
Dave?
the internet's problem that time,
internet,
actually.
yeah.
But and you compared doing this, Tony, to the time you were
Had to interview Ron Tudor from Armstrong.
from the Fable label
Oh, God.
for a
So it was
documentary.
with Clinton Walker, and I think we had a long night out, and we were there at 9 in the morning, and we started on the first question Clinton asked. I think Ron Tudor went for about, I think it was 32 minutes or something. Like each question you had to change your tape. And it was so buggered, and I looked over at one stage and I looked over in Clinton's car, open jawed, and she was going, "Hey, it was 1963, and we decided to start the Fable label, blah, blah," or whatever. And then I looked at the cameraman, and he's like draped over the camera like this, and I'm like, tongue hanging out. And I look over at the sound recorders. He was this little bloke, Tony. He's really nice. nice guy. He'd done a bit of boxing and had a bit of a fuck nose. And he's leaning back on his chair with his fucking recording pack in his lap. This
That was like that.
I just went for hours.
Well, I hope this was just as good